Hello and welcome to another session for film studies. Today we're going to be talking about a lesson on sound effects and dialogue in film. We're going to be introducing our animated movie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So let's get into it. With an animated movie, sound effects and dialogue are especially necessary since they can't film it and get sounds naturally. So sound in the modern film, it includes the sound effects, the dialogue, the musical score, all the ambient sound going on behind the scenes. And a lot of times those sounds are created off camera to kind of heighten the senses and try to make it seem more real. So it requires a layering of sounds for the finished product. And so film editing, or sound editing, is kind of a big deal, especially with Hollywood and the Academy Awards. Foley artists are the people that create these sounds. And so you have the boom technicians and the grips and things like that. And then Foley artists down here are doing wonderful things for sound effects like what sand sounds like and glass and you name it. Dialogue, there has to be a balance between the images and the dialogue. One of the problems with films that are foreign films is sometimes they would dub the voice over. And so they would speak in English and then their mouths would move in another language. You are weak. I will finish you. Like old karate movies. So that was kind of a problem. Sometimes the balance between the dialogue and the sound effects is not mixed right. Christopher Nolan's recent film Tenet, a lot of fans have argued that the sound effects were way too hard and the dialogue was too difficult to hear, which in a theater is a problem. It's not like at home where you can turn on the closed captioning and read, which who wants to read during a movie? Come on. So the three-dimensionality of sound, the first modern sound film was Citizen Kane, which we watched in this film in terms of sound going on all around you, not surround sound yet, but in stereo and things like that. It adds depth to the films. Dolby surround sound is actually older than you think. It debuted in 1974, so it's much, much older than maybe you realize. There's visible and invisible sound. There's sounds that naturally emanate from the images on the screen. If you see a bird squawking, quack, that's a natural visible sound. There's also sounds from the sources not on screen, like the soundtrack and the music and some of the other things that are going on, the inner dialogue maybe. And so those are called diegetic or non-diegetic sounds. So diegetic is what you would hear on the movie that naturally would be there, like the dialogue, the ambient sound, the sound effects, the time, and all that. Non-diegetic is kind of like the voiceover, the music, and all that stuff. There's also special uses of sound effects and dialogue. Sound effects can tell an inner story. You can have the distortion of sound to suggest subjective states. If things are distorted, if there's a car crash, there's an explosion, they can distort sound. And then the personality of mechanical sounds. Star Wars is a great example. R2-D2 just through a series of beeps and kind of different noises can convey emotions and things like that. Wall-E did a great job of that as well. There's slow motion sound, which I always think is the $6 Million Man. You guys probably didn't get the reference. Look it up on YouTube. And then placing unusual emphasis on sound. Sometimes it's a little overbearing, like recent movies like Tenet that are just super, super loud. But maybe it was intended. That's what the director wanted. Using sound for temperature, time, texture, The latest version of The Great Gatsby kind of cracked me up. It's a 1920s film, and yet they have a soundtrack including a song by Jay-Z, which just didn't fit real well, but oh well. Sound is a plot device. It can also be a transitional element. You can have voiceover narration, which the Will Ferrell movie Stranger Than Fiction. The voiceover narrator, Will Ferrell, the main character, can actually hear it, and then he argues with it because they say that he's going to die, and he's like, no, I'm not. I don't want to die. There's flashbacks. There's silence as a sound effect, done really well in the movie Castaway, where you only get the ambient sound. There's no dialogue for so many minutes because Tom Hanks is stranded on an island and he has to just kind of be there. There's also the scene in Forrest Gump, going back to Tom Hanks when Jenny dies or his mom dies, that it's just very quiet in the house and he's all alone. Quiet Place is another great one. What a tremendous film in terms of silence. And then the sounds of a foreign language film or international films, as I mentioned, with dubbing or subtitles, it just kind of blends into the background. So you have voice dubbing, you have subtitles. So let's move into American Film Institute's top animated movies. Number 1 is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which we're watching. Number 2 is Pinocchio. Number 3 is Bambi. 4, The Lion King, the 1994 version, not the latest live action, whatever, digital, not live action, but animated movie with computers. Fantasia, Toy Story, Beauty and the Beast. Once again, that's the old, not an old, but the 90s version. Shrek, Cinderella, and Finding Nemo. And so all but one of those are Disney productions or Pixar. This one was cut off, in 2007, 2008, so it's really badly needed in updating, especially with the influx and the amazing production of animated movies now. Our little meme here, I'll have you know that I just watched a Pixar movie and it only took me 20 minutes to cry. So this one might need some updating. So I have my own list here. Here's Harvey's list, and this actually this is a meme. Pixar, this is their thinking. What if toys had feelings? What if bugs had feelings? What if monsters had feelings? What if fish? What if superheroes? What if cars? What if rats? What if robots? What if dogs? What if Scotland had feelings? And then finally, Inside Out, what if feelings had feelings? All right, so the top animated movies according to me, and I've watched a lot of movies. I'm not an expert, but I teach a film class. So here's my list. Finding Nemo is the greatest animated movie of all time, followed by Toy Story 3, Coco, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Inside Out, South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. I know it's inappropriate, but I like that movie. The Simpsons movie, it's just like a Simpsons episode. You get into it, and you just want to rewatch it over and over again. Shrek, Kung Fu Panda, got a soft spot in my heart for Jack Black. And then Yellow Submarine. I am a big Beatles fan. I have an honorable mention, though, Revenge of the Sith. Wait, look at that picture there and tell me that's not an animated movie. Come on, George Lucas. That's an animated movie. I love it. It's Star Wars, but come on. So Snow White, 1937, directed by William Cottrell and David Hand, produced by Walt Disney himself. It's the only feature-length animated movie that Disney ever produced personally himself. And I hit a weird button, I'm sorry. It's the first full-length animated feature film ever made. Disney insisted that they did 24 frames per second, which made the animation look really, really nice, really popped off the screen. But when they do a bunch of layers and cells and things like that, that's a lot of drawings for a feature film for an hour-and-a-half movie for 24 frames per second. It won an honorary award at the Oscars. It was nominated for Best Musical Score. Walt Disney gave a 15-minute speech that basically encapsulated or captured everyone's attention at the award ceremony about his next feature film coming out, which I believe was Pinocchio or Bambi. Can't remember. Pinocchio. It made 4 times as much money as any other film in 1938. It's the highest grossing animated film ever, adjusted to inflation. The dwarfs were actually modeled after real people. This is one of Hitler's favorite movies. I don't know why we always mention that, but it's Hitler. He loved this movie along with King Kong and Sun Valley Serenade. This is the first movie where you could go buy the soundtrack to go along with it. From the profits, Disney's Burbank studios were built, and then from there they released Bambi and Pinocchio, Fantasia, and then from there Disney just kind of grew. And eventually you get Disneyland in 1955, and then Disney World, which opened, I believe, in 1971. And then now Disney just kind of evolved and grew. Disney acquired ABC. Disney owns ESPN now. Disney owns Pixar. Disney owns Marvel. Disney owns Star Wars. Disney owns you. I'm just kidding on that. But it all started with Snow White. I mean, really is where they made their first big profits. They were just kind of doing shorts, like Steamboat Willie and Mickey Mouse. But this really kind of set the tone of what Disney was. Mel Blanc, the voice of all the Looney Tunes characters, was supposed to do the voice of Dopey. They decided to make him a mute instead. It's kind of an ironic, weird thing. Snow White is the youngest Disney princess of the movies at age 14. AFI, it's the 34th greatest film, 49 in 1997. It's the greatest animated movie. Someday My Prince Will Come, which you probably don't know that song. It's probably one of the Disney songs you don't know as well. It's the 19th greatest movie song. The Queen is the 10th greatest movie villain. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 98% using their old rankings. It's number 15 all time. They Shoot Pictures, Don't They? It's 337. Entertainment Weekly, it's 23. It is on the AMC film site list. It's on IMDb. It's not on the top 250. It has an average fan rating of 7.7. And it is not on Sight and Sound. The British don't like it either. Here's some questions if you're curious about that. Hope you enjoy the film.